Who are the top 12 Dynasty quarterbacks? All that and more on today's Locked On Dynasty.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Matt Williamson and Ryan McDowell.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Welcome to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McDowell. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMC23. Joining me, as always, is Matt Williamson. Find Matt on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. Matt, you're in Indianapolis. How's it going?
I sure am. I landed here I didn't land. We drove through the rain, but about half an hour ago, I've been here. You can see it's a little bit different background. Looking out the window, glorious view. I'm going out with some Steeler folks for dinner here soon. So pretty psyched up for a week to get started.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I'll be there later this week. We'll squeeze a couple episodes in before that happens. But I know we're excited to see what happens this week at the NFL Combine. I know all of our listeners, I know all Dynasty players are excited about that as well. This week, though, we're continuing our focus on rookies. We're going to talk about Michael Mayer today, one of my favorite prospects in the class, one of the safest prospects in the class. We'll do that soon, but I thought we'd continue, Matt, talking some ADP. We hit those top 12 Dynasty running backs and wide receivers last week, had that conversation. Of course, this is new DLF Dynasty ADP. The running back conversation was fun because we had Bijan Robinson as the RB1. Another rookie, Jahmyr Gibbs, was the RB12. We didn't have any rookies in our top 12 Dynasty wide receivers, which is no surprise. And I'll go ahead and spoil it. Matt, we don't have any quarterbacks, any rookie quarterbacks in our top 12 either, but there were two that were very, very close. We'll get to that.
Okay. Interesting.
Let's start at the top. No surprise with the top three. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback 1, Josh Allen, quarterback 2, Jalen Hurts, quarterback 3. I do want to kind of tier these guys out, and these three are in the top tier. I thought it was really interesting, Matt, and we've hit on this a little bit over the past few weeks, really, and we've got Patrick Mahomes with an ADP of 12 now. He is in the first round of our single quarterback Dynasty ADP, and we've had that conversation about does he belong? Is he or any quarterback worth a first round Dynasty rookie pick? If I remember correctly, we both settled on no, but we get the idea. With these guys here, we've got Mahomes at 12, Josh Allen 23, so he's a late second rounder. Jalen Hurts 26 overall as an early third rounder. I'm much more comfortable with that late second or early third price tag than a first rounder, even the last pick in the first round.
I am too. Like Mahomes is a transcendent football player, but for fantasy, I mean, I can't give up a starting back or a receiver for him because I don't even know that he's that much better than Allen and Hurts, on a weekly basis. He's tremendous. He's safe. We always talk about when I was new to Dynasty, there was that logic of why wouldn't I just draft Andrew Luck first overall and plug him in for 15 years, and
you've talked about that.
And that I don't think Mahomes is retiring like Luck or that's a cautionary tale. It's just, they're easy to find. You know what I mean? And yes, he's special, but I don't think he's that much more special than Allen or Hurts.
Well, this top tier is pretty narrow with three guys among the top 26 players overall. Just for reference, Matt, the players coming off the board right after Patrick Mahomes: Kenneth Walker, Chris Olave, Saquon Barkley, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. So that is the opportunity cost. That's what you're giving up if you take Patrick Mahomes in a one quarterback league with your first rounder.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on.
Superflex is a massively different story.
Right. Superflex, these guys would be the top three. I would imagine. We'll have that Superflex ADP soon. Okay. The next tier is pretty deep here. We've got Justin Herbert at quarterback 4. I was surprised to see him as the fourth guy, honestly.
Me too.
Had a little bit of an up and down season. Joe Burrow right behind him. as the quarterback 5. Herbert with an ADP of 49, Burrow at 50. And the quarterback 6 is Lamar Jackson with an ADP of 52. So Herbert, Burrow, Jackson, essentially all with the same value between 49 and 52 overall. But obviously that's a big gap from that 26 ADP of Jalen Hurts. We see, we see almost 2 full rounds of players coming off the board. Actually, more than 2 full rounds of players coming off the board between Hurts and Herbert. Herbert,
I like shopping
Burrow,
in that neighborhood a little bit better than that top 3.
Right. Yeah. Let's grab wide receivers, maybe a running back with those first, second, third rounder, fourth rounder even, and then look at one of these guys. We've got a little bit of a gap from Lamar Jackson to the next 2 players. Trevor Lawrence is our quarterback 7. Justin Fields is quarterback 8. Lawrence with an ADP of 62, Fields at 68. So that group of 5, Herbert, Burrow, Jackson, Lawrence, and Fields, that would be your second tier of these dynasty quarterbacks. Any thoughts on those guys in general?
Yeah, and I get that they're lumped together, but I think the top 3 are a little different than the bottom 2. And
that's fair. Yep.
Just they're a little more established. They've been around the block a little bit more. I mean, we don't know that Fields is a long-term starter yet. I'm sure Lawrence will be, but we know he's a long-term, huge fantasy producer. And why I haven't mentioned Herbert, Burrow, and Jackson, whatever order you want to put them in, and I wouldn't have them in that exact order, is at that point, I probably have a quarterback advantage. Remember, this is a weekly game we play. Most weeks, 7 out of 10 weeks, 8 out of 10 weeks, if I'm starting Herbert, Burrow, or Jackson, but I already have 4 starters on my team already, I like that.
Right. So you're saying even if you're losing points to the Hurts team or the Allen team once a year, you're willing to take that for the running backs and the wide receivers that you're taking. Gotcha.
Yeah. That team.
I think I agree with that. And again, Herbert, Burrow, Jackson, you can argue the order there. I'm even happy to wait for Lawrence. I know you mentioned not some questions, but just, we want to see a little bit more after 2 up and down years from Lawrence. And we can say the same for Fields. Our next 3 players are certainly in a tier, a separate tier, a big gap from Fields to the quarterback 9. That is Kyler Murray.
I bet all these guys dropped over the last year. Watson's a weird one, but yeah.
Yeah, certainly 2 of them did. We've got Kyler Murray at quarterback 9 with an ADP of 83. Deshaun Watson, quarterback 10 with an ADP of 84. And Dak Prescott at quarterback 11 with an ADP of 85. So you heard that right. 83, 84, 85. Those 3 guys could not be any closer. Matt, if you're taking one of these, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, I think dynasty managers are worried about all 3 for different reasons. If you've waited this long, which one are you grabbing?
Yeah, and real quick, probably how I should have phrased that is I feel like the arrow's pointing down on all 3. If you're looking at the stock market ticker, I think all these guys have dropped recently. And for that matter, I would take Dak. I mean, Kyler might not play well into the season, and what if they're 1-8 when he's due to come back? Will he play at all? What are we going to see from him? A lot of questions about his play as well. Watson was flat out bad this past year. I think Dak got too much heat, undeserved heat. He threw too many interceptions, but I still think he's a very good football player.
Well, don't those questions about whether it's injury related or on-field play with both Watson and Dak, don't those questions about those players and some of the other guys we discussed just make those top 8 even more valuable?
I was thinking that too. That's a good way of putting it. Like, give me Herbert or whomever, right.
Right. Let's finish up here. Quarterback 12, again, he is a big gap from Dak Prescott to the next guy. That's Tua Tagovailoa. He's quarterback 12. 85 was Dak's ADP, remember? Tua 115. So we're talking about a 30-spot jump between the quarterback 11 and the quarterback 12. Talked about those rookies earlier, remember? Matt, quarterback 13 is CJ Stroud. Quarterback 15 is Bryce Young. Quarterback 16 is Anthony Richardson. So you've got 3 rookies in the top 16. And by the way, Trey Lance is the quarterback 14. So we've got a lot of uncertainty just outside of those top 12 quarterbacks. Any of those 4 could crash this party, and they could be in this quarterback one conversation really within a few months, or they could be well outside of the top 15, top 20 even. All four of those guys are looking at potential value shifts in 2023.
You mentioned how they could crash real quick. You mentioned how they could crash the party. I think that party is very crashable. Like I'm expecting volatility in these ranks in this neighborhood a lot.
Right. I mean, with any of those three quarterbacks, if they get a good landing spot, if they earn the starting job, from week one on, if they play well early in the season, it's not going to take that much to jump Tua if these injury concerns linger. It's not going to take that much to jump Watson or Dak if they struggle to start the season, if they're throwing interceptions, if they're losing games. And same with Kyler Murray. Right. Same with Kyler and the injury issue. So really, we're looking at from 9 to 16 as wide open right now, kind of for the taking are those spots. Matt, when we come back, we will get into Michael Mayer. We'll talk about the big tight end from Notre Dame.
You're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories. I mean, who wouldn't be? Then you got to try Built Bar. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, they're 100% covered in 100% real chocolate, and you can absolutely taste it. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in crazily unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond. Not sure how they do it, but they really do taste like a candy bar while maintaining phenomenal macros. I mean, only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't have to wait around to get a box. I mean, you used to have to go to built.com, and you still can do that. That's phenomenal. But you can also get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. I'm sure there's one near you. Head to your nearest Walmart today. Walk over to the pharmacy section. Grab yourself a box of Built Bars. Grab a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Or if you're near a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later.
Matt, Michael Mayer is a 6'4", 265-pound tight end from Notre Dame, just 21 years old still. Look back at his recruiting process 3 years ago. He was a 5-star recruit. He's a Kentucky boy, Matt. I like
I didn't know that.
Any of these Kentucky kids. He's from Northern Kentucky, essentially from the Cincinnati area. No surprise to see him landing in Notre Dame. They seem to get all those tight ends that are kind of in this mold. And when I say in this mold, he's a big, strapping, like typical, traditional, inline tight end. He can block. He certainly can catch, has good hands, but he's not going to outrun any of these defensive backs, or probably not many of the linebackers either. Matt, what do you like about Michael Mayer's game?
Yeah, I like him a lot. Maybe more so as a football player than fantasy asset, especially compared to other tight ends in this class, which I think is a phenomenal tight end class. But he is rugged, and he does all the dirty work and seems to relish in it. And he's a big, thick, strong guy that uses that strength and aggressiveness as a runner after the catch, certainly as a blocker. He doesn't mind blocking snap after snap against defensive ends and edge guys. He's not just a finesse move player. So I think coaches will love him at the next level. Interested to see how he tests, but you're right, on tape, he doesn't blow you away as a run away from people guy.
Yeah, Michael Mayer has been the favorite to be the tight end one in this class, really since he entered college, honestly. But if you look at some of these mock drafts, he was starting to get some heat, specifically from Dalton Kincaid. And then we've learned that Kincaid is not going to be able to work out at the combine. Matt, I know you're traveling today. I don't know if you have even seen that news. So we're not going to see Kincaid, at least on the field in these drills. Maybe that's enough to give a little advantage to Mayer if he can test well, if he can impress on the field at the combine. Let's look back at some production. He had it all 3 seasons at Notre Dame as a freshman, true freshman, 42 catches, 450 yards, and a couple scores. Sophomore season was statistically his best, 71 catches, 840 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He finished out his career this past season with 67 grabs, 809 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Matt, he played 12 games each of his 3 seasons, barely ever missed time. That's another plus in his corner, in my opinion. You know, this big guy that can block. I mean, he's got the size. I said he's not going to outrun many of those defenders, but he might knock them down because he's such a big guy. But he has soft hands as well. So I think there's a lot of things to like about Michael Mayer. You know, we're still kind of stuck in the dynasty community on this Kyle Pitts tight end mold. And I mean, there's reasons to be stuck on that and interested in finding, you know, more guys in that range. Michael Mayer is not that by any means. I've said he's a little bit better version of Pat Freiermuth. Of course, your guy up there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Do you think is that fair to say?
Yeah. I bet Freiermuth's faster.
I was going to say a little more athletic, probably. Freiermuth is.
I think Mayer's more rugged and a better blocker. I mean, Freiermuth's a so-so blocker as an inline versus, you know, springing a running back off the edge. So I do think Mayer plays very quickly in this league. And just real quick, you know, looking at his production that you jotted down here, consistent, you know, 12 games a year. I'm sure he played through some, you know, dinged up situations. 18 touchdowns or 16 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. But what stands out to me, like you mentioned, true freshman at Notre Dame that always has good tight ends. He catches 42 balls a year after playing high school football. That's pretty impressive.
Right. Yeah. Very good. We kind of hinted at a couple weaknesses: the speed, limited somewhat, just athletically. Anything else?
Real quick, I want to stop you on that. Like speed and athleticism, I think against other first-round tight ends we've seen lately, he's lacking. But I don't think he's slow by. I mean, he doesn't run like Mercedes Lewis. You know, I mean, he gets around fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, on the tight end scale, he's
right. Fine.
Yeah. That's fair.
But compared to first-round tight ends, he's slower and a little bit more of a plotter and a power player.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any concerns in general you have about Mayer?
No, I think my concerns will be versus Kincaid, versus Musgrave, you know, and if I'm the Bengals, I might rather have Mayer, but if I'm Matt Williamson's dynasty team, I think I want those guys.
Okay, that's fair. Well, we're going to get into his dynasty value and some ideal landing spots right after this break. Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez provide in-depth coverage of the biggest NFL draft prospects with deep dives into the sleepers and hidden gems that can change your favorite NFL franchise. Find Locked On NFL Draft wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Matt, you suggested the Cincinnati Bengals might be interested in Michael Mayer. They pick 29th overall in the first round of the NFL draft. I've got a few teams here that might be in that same range and arguably or maybe obviously have a need at the tight end position. Green Bay, 15 overall, maybe a little early given the depth of the tight end class. I mean, we've thrown out those names, Kincaid and Musgrave, but there's a bunch of tight ends, right? I mean, even Daniel Jeremiah has said he's given 11 tight ends a round 3 grade or better. So he's saying 11 tight ends picked by or at least projected by the end of day 2. That's a ton. And
it's crazy.
That depth at that position could lead teams to, gamble and wait it out until day 2, round 2, round 3, maybe Mayer and maybe even Kincaid, who we're going to talk about tomorrow. Maybe they fall further than expected, but Green Bay at 15, I think could consider it. Detroit at 18. Of course, they trade TJ Hawkinson. Now they have a need at tight end. Could they just turn around and take Michael Mayer there?
See, I think he looks like a lion. I think this guy's a knee biter. You put him on the end of that O-line that has a lot of early picks on it, and the physicality of that football team and their dedication to the run game with Jameson Williamson, not Williamson, we're very different. Jameson Williams having the take the top off of mentality. I think that completes him, and I think he's a better blocker than Hawkinson, or will be. That's a good
Chargers pick. Yeah, Chargers pick 22. Got some decent tight end play the past couple of years, but they don't have that long-term guy there, at least not yet. Jacksonville at 25. This is kind of a wait and see. It sounds like they want to bring Evan Ingram back. If they do, then I would cross them off the list here. I don't think they would re-sign Ingram and or even tag Ingram and go tight end here. But as of now, an option to consider. Dallas at 27, and we already talked about the Bengals at 29.
Yeah, and good.
No, I was just going to say, who's your favorite of those? Is it Detroit?
I think so. I'm not going to disagree with you on Jacksonville because it's still unlikely, and I do think they will tag Ingram, but those guys couldn't be any more different. Everyone likes the Gronk Henderson comparison or Hernandez comparison. That could be kind of what they would give their young quarterback. So I would love to see it. I don't know if their roster's wealthy enough to, put that many resources in tight ends, but I would love to see him paired with an Ingram type. I love the Lions fit. I love the Bengals fit. Hayden Hurst is a free agent. I don't think they'll be able to hold on to Boyd much longer, especially if they're going to sign Higgins and Chase. So there is opportunity there. Dallas is fine. Schultz is a free agent, unlikely to come back. And I just think the Chargers need more explosive playmakers. Like if I were them, I would take Jalen Hyatt before I'd take Mayer. You know what I mean?
I would like that one.
Yeah.
And I agree. You hit on it, Dallas, with the need because of
Schultz. Yeah.
Because of Schultz being a free agent. Dallas also hit on, maybe hit is not the right word, but they drafted both Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot last year with those mid-round picks or late-round picks, really, and got decent production from both of them. So while
if Henderson's on your waiver wire, you should have picked him up weeks ago.
Right. I think, that's another team with a lot of needs. I don't think it would be shocking if they just say, we're going to roll with these two guys and see what happens. So both Ferguson and Hendershot should be considered on your waiver wire. Let's finish up here. Grinding the Mocks are one of our favorite sites here. They do project Michael Mayer to be the tight end one, the first tight end selected in the NFL draft. They've got him with an average draft selection of 20. And again, that's not putting the player with a specific team, but just saying that's kind of the range. So that would be in that Lions range. They pick 18th, Chargers at 22nd, somewhere in there. Looking at some recent mock drafts from around the industry, we've already talked about Daniel Jeremiah. He did project the Jaguars with the 24th pick to take Michael Mayer. So that's again, that would possibly change with the Ingram, the Ingram situation. Lance Zierlein, 18 to Detroit. Mel Kiper, 15 to Green Bay. Matt Miller, 28 to Cincinnati. Dane Brugler, 21 to the Chargers. Matt, you can see where I came up with my ideal landing spots. These guys are all over the board. Maybe the most interesting one is our buddy Danny Kelly from The Ringer. We're going to see him in Indianapolis this week as well. Danny had the Tennessee Titans with the 11th overall pick. That might be the highest I've seen Michael Mayer in quite a while. What do you think there?
Yeah, Danny Kelly's great. And I hope we run into him this week and all those good things. I just disagree with this one. Their O-line receiver needs. They're going to cut guys probably like Bud Dupree. What's going on at quarterback? They have Chig. Chig's good. I know he's a lot different than Chig, but they can't afford that Ingram Mayer thing I laid out. If they got their tight end.
Yep, I agree. Probably it seems like Mayer is trending down in value. Do you think he's a lock to be a first round NFL draft pick?
No. I think Musgrave is going to be the first one off the board. Musgrave's my favorite right now. I think he's the freakiest and the biggest. And Mayer's a fine prospect and is worthy of a first-round pick. But you mentioned it. I mean, there's 12 good ones. Maybe there's only 15 teams tight end shopping. And if he's third on your board in the tight end room, he might be there at the beginning of the second round.
Yeah,
and you jump all over him. Yeah.
We'll finish up here with his dynasty value. Looking at our rookie rankings at Dynasty League Football, Michael Mayer is the 6th ranked player overall. He is, of course, the tight end 1. I don't think he keeps that ranking. I think he's probably going to fall pretty soon. Maybe as some of these receivers and running backs move up the boards post combine. Rookie ADP. This one was kind of a surprise, both in our 1 quarterback rookie ADP and our Superflex data. He had the same ADP, 15 overall, and the tight end 1. So based on the ADP, looking more like an early second rounder, not that mid first that the ranking suggests. So again, that's another reason to think that he's probably falling from that ranking of 6 overall where he is now at DLF.
Yeah. I mean, again, subject to change, he would be my tight end 3 in this class. I mean, I think maybe not in the real world, again, if I'm the Bengals, I might like him 1, but in terms of receiving potential, fantasy potential, he's number 3 for me right now, which I mean, to me, is probably closer to, I don't know, 16, 17, 18th overall, mid-second round pick, something like that.
Yep. That's fair. That is Michael Mayer, a player we like a lot more in the NFL.
It's great. Great prospect
in fantasy. That'll do it for today's show. Please make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Remember to follow the show at Locked On Dynasty. Follow Matt at Williamson NFL. And I'm Ryan, MC23. We'll be back next time with more Locked On Dynasty.